On a quiet night in the year 1752, people went to sleep believing tomorrow would arrive as it always had. The sun would rise, church bells would ring, and life would continue in its slow, predictable rhythm. No one suspected that when morning came, time itself would be broken. When people opened their eyes, the date was no longer September 3rd. It was September 14th. 11 full days had vanished from existence, silently removed from history. There was no storm in the sky, no earthquake beneath the ground, no warning in dreams or omens. Time simply jumped forward, as if someone had torn pages from the calendar while the world slept. For many, it felt like a theft; for others, like a curse; and for some, it felt like proof that time was never truly under human control. To understand how 11 days disappeared, we must return to ancient Rome. In 45 BC, Julius Caesar introduced what would later be known as the Julian calendar. At the time, it was an impressive system. It assumed a year lasted 365 days and added one extra day every 4 years to correct the slight imbalance. For centuries, this calendar guided empires, religions, and everyday life. People were born, married, and buried by its dates. But the Julian calendar carried a small mistake. It miscalculated the length of the solar year by just 11 minutes. 11 minutes may seem insignificant, almost invisible, but time is patient. Over centuries, those minutes accumulated. Days slowly drifted away from the seasons. Spring no longer arrived when it should. Religious holidays began slipping out of alignment with the stars and the sun. By the 1500s, the calendar was 10 days out of sync with the natural world. This worried the Catholic Church deeply. Easter, the most important Christian holiday, was no longer matching the astronomical events it was meant to follow. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII introduced a new calendar, the Gregorian calendar, designed to correct the error, to fix the drift. 10 days were removed from the calendar in countries that accepted the reform. October 4th was followed immediately by October 15th, but not everyone agreed. Many Protestant countries rejected the Gregorian calendar at first, seeing it as a Catholic manipulation of time. England, and later its colonies, refused to adopt it for nearly 170 years. They continued living under the old Julian system, while the rest of Europe moved forward with corrected time. By the time England finally accepted the new calendar in 1752, the error had grown larger. It was no longer 10 days. It was 11. And so the decision was made. September 2nd, 1752 would be followed by September 14th. The missing days would never exist. When the change happened, confusion spread instantly. People believed their lives had been shortened. Some thought they had aged faster overnight. Others feared they had lost wages, rent days, or even years of their lives. There were reports of protests, with crowds shouting, "Give us our 11 days back," for ordinary people. Time had always been sacred. Days marked work, prayer, rest, and survival. To have days taken away by decree felt unnatural, even cruel. Farmers worried about planting seasons. Workers feared unpaid labor. Elderly people believed their remaining life had been reduced. Some believed something darker was at play. Rumors spread that the government had stolen time for its own purposes. Others whispered that the missing days were a punishment from God. A few believed the days still existed somewhere, hidden beyond human perception, waiting to return. Children born during the missing days were said to have no true birthdays. People who were supposed to die during that last time were believed to be walking ghosts, spared by a mistake in the calendar. Even more unsettling was the psychological effect. Imagine falling asleep on one date and waking up nearly 2 weeks later without living those days. No memories, no experiences, just absence for many. It created a quiet anxiety that never fully faded. Time had proven it could be rewritten. In reality, nothing physical had happened to the world. The sun rose and set as always. The stars did not move. Only human measurement changed. But this raised a disturbing question. If time can be altered by agreement, what does that say about reality? Were those 11 days ever real? Some historians argue that the days were never truly lost. They claim time flowed normally, and only the labels changed. But for the people living through it, labels were everything. A date defined existence. Without a date, a day felt meaningless, erased. Even today, records from that period remain confusing. Legal documents, birth certificates, and contracts suddenly jump forward. Some people appear to have aged 11 days instantly. Others seem to have skipped parts of their lives entirely. The calendar reform also introduced a deeper fear. If time could be adjusted once, it could be adjusted again. Governments could redefine reality. History itself could be edited. Centuries later, we still live under the Gregorian calendar. We trust it without question. We plan our lives by it. But hidden within it is the memory of those missing days, quietly reminding us that time is not as solid as it feels. Some nights, when the world is quiet, people still wonder what happened during those 11 days. Did nothing occur? Or did something happen that humanity was never meant to remember? Perhaps the days were not erased, only removed from our awareness. Perhaps they exist in a fold of time, untouched, unrecorded, a place where moments continue without witnesses. Or perhaps the truth is simpler and more unsettling. Time is not something we travel through. It is something we agree upon. And when agreement changes, reality shifts with it. So as you drift towards sleep tonight, consider this. Every date you know, every day you remember, exists because someone once decided it did, and somewhere, hidden between September 2nd and September 14th, 1752, 11 silent days are still waiting, unspoken, unseen, and forever lost